Alarm.com is now open on Bettor Sports Network with Justin Fensterman.
Adam Bernard asking in the chat, if you made a hockey league next season, would we join? I'd be willing to make a run at it, so I'm in for next year.
And Adam Ronis.
No, I don't want you to do it, because then you're going to say, well, I was playing hockey, that's why I didn't make the playoffs. And
I don't give excuses like that.
You do.
Take it away, boys.
The Playbook is live here on the Bettor Sports Network. Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Fensterman. His name is Adam Ronis. And for the next hour and a half, getting a little preempt action because of BettorCast, we are here for you. The NCAA tournament resumes tonight here. Coming up in just a little bit will be Dan Servodidio to talk about some of his favorite bets, DFS plays, and who he thinks will move on to the Elite Eight of the tournament. What's up, Roan? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man.
Nice. I mean, well, are you doing really well? Pretty well, because I got to ask you, man. There was an another FSGA industry fantasy baseball draft earlier today. And I got to say, I tuned in a little bit on another network in a satellite far, far away. And I hear during the coverage, you join the show and you start crushing picks immediately, man. And I got to say, everybody that joins these shows while they're in the draft interview, they act like they're happy to be there. Not you, though. You're crushing picks in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the worst draft that I participated in this year. There was a lot of bad picks. It was embarrassing. Look, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, but it was just a lot of bad picks. And I went on there and I said, hey, guys, don't be so soft. You know, there's a lot of awful picks. I mean, there was an awful pick made when I was on there, and I was like, what the hell? I mean, Kyle Wright went in round 3. And look, you can be the biggest Kyle Wright fan in the world. This is where you have to at least have an idea of what ADP is like. I mean, Kyle Wright is not going in round 3. He had a great year last year. I thought it was a mistake. I was ready for them to roll it back, you know, because I crossed names off a list, right? So I was like, okay, they're going to roll that back. Nope, they did. Okay, cool. Yeah, there was a lot of odd picks in it. I guess it made it not challenging for me, but then I had to figure out, okay, damn, there's a lot of value falling here. Like Kodai Senga in the 6th round, Chris Bassett in the 8th round. I mean, what are these picks, man? I mean, so I'm not used to it. So a lot of value fell. And then I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to change my strategy, or how am I going to alter things? Because there were just so much good value on the board. And it's like, oh, do I take the pitcher? Do I take the bat? So I think I came away with a really good team. Obviously now I have to win this league. They said that. It's kind of true. I was like, watch this be the league I finished the worst in. They said, no, we see your team. This is not going to be.
The RotoWire guys were really liking your team. Even after your interview, they were really liking your team. And I mean, what can't you like about this team? And something you said, by the way, which I think is huge while you were on that interview, it might seem like you're a Braves fan, but you're actually a Mets fan, but you don't draft with your heart. And looking at your team, you picked out of the 2-hole there. We were just flashing the grid up here on screen. You took 3 Braves in the first 4 rounds, but for good reason, man, because you're getting Strider, who is a second-tier probably pitcher at this point. Acuna's Acuna. You can't argue against that. And even Ozzie Albies as well. I mean, he's going to stay healthy. He'll be fine. One of the top second base out there. I mean, come on, man. I was totally fine with your starting then getting Jordan Romano after that. I thought your first 5 picks were perfect in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, a 4-5 turn. I mean, I kind of thought about Corbin Carroll because I don't have him anywhere, but I decided to pass. I wasn't sure about closer. Once I saw Devin Williams go on the turn, I said, all right, I'm probably going to take it now. Looking at what made it back, I mean, Felix Bautista did make it back, but, you know, you don't know at that time.
How many shares of Bautista do you have? I know you at least have one.
One.
You just have one. Okay.
Yeah, I think I have 2 Romano. I took him in the main event, my NFBC main event. So, yeah, I mean, pitching really, they waited on pitching because Corbin Burns was the first pitcher off the board in middle round 2, but then it went pretty heavy. So, like round 4 or 5, maybe I debated going Christian Javier.
What's Ohtani in this league?
1 player.
Okay. You have to declare every week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether you're going to pitch or utility.
Yep. So he went in the first round as well. And let's see, who do we know here? The senior circuit. So I'm thinking when I hear senior circuit, I'm thinking a draft of old people. So
yeah, Scott Engel. So he's in this.
There's you. There's
I'm
Ryan Hallam.
First of all, look, let me clarify here, okay? I'm not trying to be cocky or anything. I don't belong in this league. All right. I don't. I don't though. Like, let's be honest, because they were like, oh, so who got relegated? So I had to make sure. Like, this is my first FSGA baseball league I've been in. I've never played in an FSGA baseball league. So
I'm sorry that this was your first experience.
Yeah, well, I did this really because Matt Deutsch wanted someone from the company. So me, I'm a company man. So I stepped up. What are you laughing for?
Because this is why.
No, it has nothing to do with it.
Right.
I mean, I can't be bought though. I got a price.
Yes.
So,
for sure.
Someone wants me to draft for them. Well, I shouldn't say. If someone wants me to draft for them and they'll pay me. That happened. Was it last year? And I was sick.
What would be your rate to?
Someone actually gave me. Am I allowed to say this public? I guess I could, right? Who cares? Someone paid me a good fee to draft for them. It was either last year or 2 years ago, and I was sick, bro. I did not feel well. I did it. I don't even remember how they finished, but
What would you charge for a 29-round fantasy baseball draft to sit in with someone?
What do you mean, sit in at a live draft?
Or nah, you don't have to. You could do it from home. You would do it remotely.
I don't know.
Live. They better be paid for your room and board,
food,
your travel.
Food,
that's quite an expense.
Lap dance, hot tub, massage.
What would be your rate? Would 200 do it?
Nah. I mean, I got more than that from someone in the past. So
good for you.
Yeah, I just drafted the team, but I could tell that they weren't good at the waiver wire. So I mean, it was a pretty shallow. It had to have been last year because I took Bobby Witt late. It was a keeper league. Yeah, it had to be last year. I was like, yo, I got you Bobby Witt, man. Like, that's a good keeper. So yeah, I shouldn't be in this league, man. No disrespect to people. So I'm only in this league because it's the first year. But if I win, I go to the senior, I don't even know what they call it.
The FSGA champions.
Yeah, whatever, man. So,
yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of.
You come in second, I believe, too. I think the bottom two from the Champions League. Actually, bottom two.
Yeah, I think the bottom two. So, I mean, I could definitely see that there were a couple bottom two that made it to this league. There's a lot of bad picks in this draft, bro. A lot.
Man, I mean, there's you in there. There's Ryan Hallam. Ryan
actually did not draft.
Oh, it was James Grande, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, James Grande. He'll come on with us again soon. Can't come on with us tomorrow anymore. He regretted to inform me today. So
no, it's too bad.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, I mean, he can't draft and make an appearance in one day. I mean, that would be asking too much.
Hey, they always say like guys are bad at multitasking, right? Nah. I think when you're dealing with a sick household and everything like that, which I think James is dealing with, trust me, I get that.
Oh, he's got mud butt.
Does he?
You said he's sick, so he probably has mud butt.
You might. I mean, that's the only sickness out there that you can have. So it must be that.
What's COVID?
Yes, it could be that too. Why are we laughing? It's not funny. It's not a laughing matter.
You're
okay?
laughing.
I'm not. I didn't mean to laugh. I just didn't mean to.
Yeah.
So, what were some of the other picks that you thought were horrible in this draft here?
How much time do we have,
dude? Go for it, man. I'll sit back with my arms folded. Let us know what you're thinking when it comes to bad.
All right. So we mentioned draft. Kyle Wright in round 4. Let's see. Round 5 was okay. Kodai Senga in round 6. I guess Steve Phillips didn't get the news that Raisel Iglesias was placed is going to start the year on the IL. I mean, I don't know how much time he's going to miss, but it's a shoulder issue. I like him a lot.
You hate to see shoulder though.
Yeah, so I don't think he knew when he made the pick. I mean, I know we have IL spots, but Altuve in round 6. Maybe they don't know what's going on in baseball the last 5 days. I don't know.
Who got Hoskins? He was taken off.
Well, that was bad luck because I think that happened. It was Steve Phillips, so he's already dealing with a couple of issues. But that one was just because I think he made the pick before he got hurt. Someone texted me, so I was alert to it. Christian Walker in round 6. I like the player. Too early. Let me see. There were a few egregious picks, though. Let's see where else. I don't like Chris Bassett in round 9. There were so many better pitchers that went after him. Round 9. I mean, I don't like Daniel Bard in round 9. I don't think he keeps the job. Tyler Anderson in round 11? Like, are you kidding me? Over Blake Snell, Lick Lodolo, Freddie Peralta.
You don't seem to like Mark D'Antonio's team from Bettor Pool too much.
I like the start. I mean, look at the bats. Freeman, Bichette, Lindor, and Jazz Chisholm. That's insane. I thought about Jazz Chisholm because I don't have him. I was planning. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take Jazz Chisholm early round 3. But then Devers fell. I don't have Devers anywhere. And I get there's some concerns with the Red Sox lineup. But I'm like, I got to take Devers at 29. And then I was like, all right, well, it's going to be Strider or Nola there. So I was hoping that Jazz Chisholm would make it back, but I figured he wouldn't. But yeah, that's a ridiculous start. But they kind of ruined it after. I mean, Kenley Jansen, okay. Senga, Clay Holmes, Bassett.
I would have taken, if that were me there, I would have taken either Darvish or Framber, probably Framber Valdez. I would have taken there.
Yeah,
and I would have been thrilled with that.
Yeah, so I don't get that. Hey, maybe that we'll look back and be like, oh my God, Senga won the Cy Young. They were brilliant. I doubt it, but I hope he does as a Met fan. But yeah, didn't like Tyler Anderson there. Joey Meneses in round 11. I don't get that. I think even though there's IL, Bryce Harper around 11 to me is too early. Jay Cronenworth around 11, no good. Where was the other? I mean, Anthony Volpe's climbing up the draft, which I can't argue with it around 13. If he gets the start, I mean, that'll probably look like a good pick. Jordan Walker actually fell around 13. I was going to have to make a decision if he made it back. Oh, no, I passed on him because I needed a first baseman. I love Roddy Tellez, and he was there around 13. I really don't have Patrick Wisdom in round 13. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's someone that
is awful.
Yeah,
awful.
I feel like a couple of days ago in one of the drafts that we were broadcasting, he was like a second to last round pick.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing? Tommy Pham in round 15. This pick was made while I was on air. I was like, really? Tommy Pham, a fourth outfielder for the Mets who's not even good anymore?
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that. I definitely the Wisdom pick too.
And guys, if anyone is in this league that's listening, don't take it personal, man. I'm trying to help the people that watch, man, and they were bad picks. So, if you don't like me, it's all good.
You want to hear something funny?
What?
So I actually was broadcasting that NFBC Mike the Mouth Ultimate. We had Mike the Mouth on. So one of the participants, this David Einhorn guy who was participating, you know him at all?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Ray Flowers of Lunch Money and I were on the call for this. And we had David on, and the team that he put together, he had a lot of injury risks on his team. I don't know if you remember or not from the draft board, but I mean, some of the players off the top of my head that he had, DeGrom, he had Buxton, he went with a few other guys as well, and he went with a very risky build. We had him on, we talked to him about his team. He then sent us an email like in the last day or two. And I'll say this, he didn't take any personal shots at us, but he went back and listened to our broadcast and analysis on the draft, and he claimed we were trashing his team for about an hour. And he wrote this entire long email explaining why he made the picks that he made. And I got to say, Rome, because in an industry and in sports media where people hide behind let's just call it as it is, people hide behind their computer screens like little bitches because that's really what they do. This guy actually emails us and nothing, no shots at us or anything, but just like, hey, I might finish in last place, but here's the strategy behind my picks if they all work out. And I can even send you this email. It's long and it goes over a lot of his picks. I thought about maybe in the next few days before the season starts, inviting him on the show so we can talk with him about his team. And look, this is what our industry, and I was talking with Ray about this is what our industry is predicated on, okay? When you do these drafts, when you're in an industry draft, it's not personal. And David Einhorn, to his credit in the email, said, I know it's all in good fun. It is all in good fun, but your teams are going to get critiqued. And as we're covering these drafts where it's just the drafts, at some point you look for an angle. And if I see a team that's gone with risky picks, multiple risky picks, that's an angle that I'm going to be watching all throughout their draft. That's just how it is. And it's not a trashing of the team for an hour because like I said on that broadcast, and I say on a lot of other broadcasts, that we can end up being wrong and then we're the schmucks at the end of the day. But I actually really appreciated that because, yeah, Did he have to send us an email, like really defending his team or anything like that? He didn't have to. I mean, who are we? He's the guy that's putting $5,000 on the line in on this team. But when we're on a broadcast and you're putting $5,000 into this team, and then you come on the show for us to interview you, and you kind of give us this, well, we'll see what happens. Why did you draft Kodai Senga? Well, I hear he has a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That's what he said to us when I asked him why he drafted Kodai Senga. That's all he said, and that was it pretty much. And he just gave us I'm either going to finish first or last. Not going to lie. After that interview, I thought that he just had a bunch of screw you money, and money wasn't an issue, and that this $5,000, whatever if it works out. This email, though, that he sent proved to me that he cared. Proved to me that he opened his eye, that it opened my eyes, that he actually cares about winning this league. Because I kind of took away from that interview that he didn't care if he won, lost, whatever, the top three get paid out, $40,000 first prize in that draft. And then he sent us the email, and I appreciated his passion, Ron. And like I told Ray, when you're called a bunch of names by Twitter trolls for years and years, like fat, bald, you know what, and I won't say the curse word there, then an email like that with him saying, with no personal shots to me or Ray, and just being like, hey, here's why I made the picks that I made. Like I told Ray, that's like breakfast at Tiffany's right there compared to some of the stuff that I get on Twitter. And that I actually appreciated from David Einhorn.
Yeah, I mean, again, people have their reasons for it, and we're here to give our opinions. You could disagree with it. It's not personal, but I'm going to call it how I see it, because my goal here is to make the people watching and listening better players. And if they see, oh, wow, look at this analyst, take this pick. Maybe this player's just because someone is affiliated with a site or an analyst doesn't mean that the pick they make is great. And I'm going to have picks that look bad too. There's no doubt about it. But I'm giving you reasons for the picks. Players are going to underperform. They're going to get hurt. They're going to overperform. But, I'm always going to keep working a waiver wire, fix my team. So I won't finish last in this league. I can guarantee
that. So you really just didn't like this draft as a whole?
I mean, compared to, I don't want to say because now I'm putting the pressure on to do well, but it definitely was the least challenging draft that I've been in this year.
Looking at some of the other players on your team, how many shares of Pete Fairbanks do you have now?
Not much. This might be the first. I just feel like he fell too far. There were some closers that went before him that I have ranked lower. Little concerned. The velocity is a little down in the spring. He's had a problem staying healthy. I already had one good closer, though, with Romano. So I'm like, all right, at this point of the draft, I can take him. And I did wind up getting Michael Fulmer later and Reynaldo Lopez, who maybe can get some saves.
You thought about overdrafting Jason Adam around the two?
No,
okay,
I don't care.
Right.
The thing in this draft is I basically punted catcher. Not that I wanted to, it was not the plan, but every time I was getting set to take a catcher, they would go. I was going to take Melendez. He went, and then I looked in. I was around 14 or 15, I believe, and I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to take Gabriel Moreno. And I looked at Team 1. I'm like, oh, they already have one catcher. Maybe they won't take a second one. And after I passed, they took Moreno. So at that point, I said, all right, there's a drop-off, so I'm just going to go in a different direction. And I figured, let me just stack the rest of my team. I'll figure out, maybe I can pick up a catcher off the waiver wire that performs well. And I just think the rest of my team is so strong that I don't think the catching position should bring down the offense that much.
Did you think about, did you think about Danny Jansen at all?
I did, but I felt like that spot was not appropriate. And then I think by that time he went, was I looking at him? Let me see. He went in round, definitely considering him.
What about, and I know that you've mentioned this before, that you have to check your league settings for his roster flexibility, but Shea Langoliers, you said
he's not. They said, they made it pretty clear that it's the league rules, not what RT Sports says. This happened in the Champions League. I heard there were people arguing in the chat room, and they were, I guess, because RT Sports showed Langoliers and Garver as catcher eligible, and they said, it's the rules say 20 games. You guys have to read the rules. And then I guess some people are like, oh, but it shows catcher. again, know your league rules. I say it all the time. So I knew that ahead of time, and I know those guys are not eligible at catcher yet. So they're not bad picks, but you're going to have to wait till they get, I believe, 10 games in season. And maybe it happens a week, 2 weeks in. Maybe it's 3. Mitch Garver's another guy too that goes later. And he went around 25. That's a solid pick because you could keep him on the bench. And if he gets catcher, I think, I guess this team, I don't know what. So they have Real Muto. They have Garver and Francisco Alvarez. Alvarez got sent down. So, and Garver doesn't have catcher eligibility yet. They might think he does. He does.
Interesting.
From what I understand. I mean, again.
You warned us, by the way, Roan. You warned us early on in draft season a few weeks ago that be careful with Langoliers because it depends on the site.
Yeah. So if it's 20 games last year, he's not catcher eligible. And then, playing the league rules, I was going to take Lance McCullers in round 28, but someone beat me to him. That was smart. I took Trevor Story because I'm going to put him on the IL and add someone on Sunday. So the league rule doesn't say it, but I asked someone, are there unlimited IL? They said yes. But the league rules that I saw, it doesn't say how many IL spots. I mean, I guess I got to check again, double check.
Hey, as we've seen in these FSGA drafts, Roan, the rules change on the fly. We experienced that last night. Never heard of this.
Yeah, I mean, I should have went with colors a little bit earlier, but yeah, I think if you have unlimited IL spots in the last couple rounds, if you see players out there, just put them on the roster, put them in the IL spot, and according to league rules, waivers run Sunday. So, but I gotta win this league, man. If I or at least finish in the top 2. If I don't, then I might retire.
Wow, that's it. You heard it right here. Ronis might retire. I mean,
come on, Scott Engel's in this league, bro. I mean, you serious?
Yes.
I'm messing with him. But I mean, I'll be honest. I don't even know. Okay, I know James, obviously, the guy who always doesn't show up for our show. I know Engel. I know Kirksey.
Yep. Kirksey's part of our basketball team
right.
at fantasyalarm.com.
And I know Steve Phillips, obviously.
Yep, we know Steve.
I have no idea.
What about Trevor Tipton? Used to roll with the full-time crew at one point.
He wasn't there when I was there. I never heard of the guy.
I just had to ask. Yeah, that's about it for what I know as well. Before we get to Dan Servodidio, I
heard of him.
Yes, I've heard of him as well. Great man. Awesome dude.
That's not what you said, but whatever.
No. Well, what I said was he looks like Kyle Schwarber, which he absolutely
does. You said
does.
He smells like Kyle Schwarber.
No, you know what Kyle Schwarber?
No, I don't. You said it, so you would know.
How do you know what Kyle Schwarber?
Because he's fat like you.
Wow.
Just kidding. You set me up for that. You set me up for that.
That is very good. Wait, dude, you smell Kyle Schwarber, okay? I don't know why you're saying this.
You said it, not me.
All right, let's get serious for a minute,
Why?
okay? Let's get serious. We gotta be a normal show. We gotta be structured. No, let's do this before we talk with Dan Servodidio about college basketball. Very quickly, Roan, we can't go through our first segment of the playbook without giving our playbook first play of the day. Only 4 NBA games tonight. Here is where I'm going. It shouldn't surprise anybody else out there. No Jalen Suggs in the Magic lineup. Going right back to that Cole Anthony, over 19.5 points plus rebounds. You're telling me that this guy's going to be taking 10 shots. I'm telling you that he is going to be. Are the Knicks good against guards? Yes. Will he see time with the reserves and even more time, 27 to 30 minutes? Also, yes. Is this a guy who's been scoring consistently in double figures? Yes. Can he get you at least 5 to 6 rebounds? I think so. Yes. Give me Cole Anthony, points plus rebounds. Once again, over 19.5, minus 125 on DK. What about you, Rome?
Kelly Oubre over 21.5 points. He's gone over this in 7 of the last 9 games, coming off a 28-point game, takes 17 to 20 shots from the floor, and he usually crushes this without LaMelo Ball, who's obviously out again. So Kelly Oubre over 21.5 points.
There you go. He's got the Kelly Oubre over the points, 21.5. I got Cole Anthony over points plus rebounds at 19.5. You take the over for Cole Anthony for the playbooks. First plays of the day. Let's go from the professional basketball court to the college basketball court, because now introducing at point guard here, because he's going to lead us to a DFS tournament victory. He's going to lead us to bet victories as well. And hopefully he gives the right answer that's going to lead my bracket to victory. I'm one of the contenders in my leagues that I'm in, or in my tournament leagues that I'm in pools that I'm in. It's Dan Servodidio from fantasyalarm.com at Dan_Servodidio, Servodidio. He's joining us. Let's actually bring him in right now because we got the game's beginning here in just a little bit. And by the way, want to also let you know that it's NCAA tournament on Bettorcast tonight, starting at 6:30 Eastern time. Watch the Sweet 16 and compete in our real-time Q&A contest on the Bettor Sports Network app. Watch, play, and win prizes by answering predictive questions about the games while having fun chatting with our community in real time. Join us for Bettorcast on the Bettor Sports Network app tonight, starting at 6:30 Eastern. You can win a $100 gift card to the bettorsports.com collectible shop to purchase authentic hand-signed items from your favorite athletes. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Show and Dynasty Nerds will air on bettorsports.com and on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at Bettor Network. Servo, what's good, man? How you doing, bro?
What's up, guys? Appreciate you bringing me on again here.
So, dude, Sweet 16 starting up tonight. We'll also go through tomorrow night as well. So, focusing on these games coming up here, because tonight in the Sweet 16, we have Michigan State, Kansas State. We've got Arkansas and UConn, FAU and Tennessee, Gonzaga, and UCLA. Of those four games, Servo, which game are you most excited about you think will be the most fun to watch tonight?
I mean, I think they're all going to be really interesting from different standpoints, but the Gonzaga UCLA game to wrap up the night is definitely the one I am very much looking forward to. Rematch of 2 years ago from the Final Four when Jalen Suggs, if you remember, hit a buzzer beater to win it. And was just a really exciting game, and a couple players from both teams that are back for from that rematch. So just gonna be a really good game. I know UCLA is the small favorite in this one, but I do think Gonzaga has a really good shot to win this. Their offense is just one that is forcing teams to play with them. Their defense is definitely a question mark, but I think their offense is really going to set the tone for this, and I expect a really back and forth, high scoring game. And it's just going to be the fun one to wrap up the night. It's the last one of the night.
The first one, Kansas State, Michigan State, a 1-point favorite. We know the history of Izzo in this tournament. At the Garden, Kansas State's got 4 kids from New York. So it should be interesting. They should have a nice home backing there. What are your thoughts on this game, and who do you have coming out?
Yeah, real fascinating. We got Marquise Noel, their leading point guard there. Yeah, New York kid. And then for Michigan State, Tyson Walker, also a New York kid. So real interesting point guard matchup with both of them being New York guys in Madison Square Garden, which is awesome. I'm going Michigan State here. I think Tom Izzo in March is just something I can't deny at this point. And I think he's found the groove with this team. They don't have like a superstar, an all-American type guy on this roster, like Kansas State has 2 of them in Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel. But I think this team overall, they just get so much balance and so much production from every guy in their starting lineup, whether it's 3-point shooting, defense, just the little things on both ends of the floor. But the thing I can't overlook here is Tom Izzo is 10-4 in Sweet 16 games, plenty of experience in this atmosphere, including wins in each of his last 3 Sweet 16 appearances. It hasn't been, Michigan State's been up and down in the tournament, but when he gets to this stage, he has a knack for leading his team at least to the Elite 8 and usually to the Final Four as well. So that experience. And then on the other side, Jerome Tang, a great coach, but his first year on the job as a head coach, was there with Baylor when they won the national championship. But I just think on this big stage, Izzo just knows how to get it done, and he showed it so far in this tournament. And it's going to come to light here. And the main thing I'm focusing on this is the backcourt advantage for Michigan State. AJ Hoggard and Tyson Walker, a really good duo, can kind of switch back and forth of being the leaders of that offense. And in this tournament, the backcourts, the guards, is what really shines through. And Michigan State has that, the veteran experience at that position. Marquise Noel is great, but I just feel like that duo, especially defensively, is going to really focus on shutting down Noel and force other guys from Kansas State to step up, which has been a little bit inconsistent for that team this year.
Servo, how far do you have UConn going, and how impressed have you been with this team? This is one of my Final Four teams here that I'm hoping doesn't get eliminated tonight.
Yeah. Well, my original bracket, I did pick UConn to be in this game against Kansas. I thought Kansas would get by Arkansas in that game, which is really good by Arkansas. So I do think UConn can do enough to get past Arkansas. Going to be a really good game, though. I mean, Arkansas is going to give them a push here, and they got a coach in Eric Musselman who's gone to 2 straight Elite Eights with teams that people overlooked from Arkansas. So he knows what to do in this situation. And on the other side, I always talk about coaching. I just talked about it with Izzo, but Dan Hurley's a guy that doesn't have experience in this spot here, and his teams have usually gotten bounced in the first 2 rounds. So that's just like one of those small things. UConn obviously has a ton of talent, but I do think that UConn gets past them. But I see them losing to the winner of UCLA Gonzaga. I have Gonzaga going to the Final Four. And had them originally in my bracket, so that was the kind of a matchup I foresaw was UConn versus Gonzaga. But whether it's UCLA or the Zags, I do see the winner of that beating UConn, just being a better overall team than UConn. But I mean, UConn, listen, they have the balance on offense and defense to win the whole thing, honestly. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do get to the Final Four.
Does FAU continue this run here? They've taken 59 3-pointers in 2 games going up against Tennessee. I saw the line was 5.5 earlier. I see it's down to 4. So you backing FAU here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got it at 5.5, and I'm glad I did because I saw this line immediately, and it's been sticking that way the whole week with Tennessee being favored by 5.5. And I expected it to come down, once we get closer to game time here, and as it is. But it was just too many points for me to back Tennessee there. And I love FAU in this spot. I think they could win this game outright. Tennessee statistically has the best 3-point defense in the country in college basketball, but those numbers are very much skewed because they faced a ton of terrible 3-point shooting defenses or 3-point shooting offenses in the SEC. There's only a couple that actually shot it well. And when they did face them, they lost twice to Missouri, who was a really potent 3-point shooting team this year. And they lost earlier in the season to Arizona, who's a good 3-point shooting team. FAU is one of the best 3-point shooting teams that they've faced all season. And they've not fared well when they face these perimeter shots. So I do think, Florida Atlantic's offense is going to set a tone here, but they have the defense to match Tennessee on that end. Tennessee's a great defense, but FAU is very much a really good defense as well. So, and overall, they just have the athletes. John L. Davis is a stud. People don't really know who he is, but he's going to match up well with Santiago Vescovi from Tennessee. And this is going to be. I like FAU as underdogs here. I do think they win the game outright. So, yeah.
Servo, before we switch it over to Friday here, you do a lot of DFS content for us at fantasyalarm.com. I mean, you are our lead college sports analyst that we have here between the basketball and the great football work that you do. Who are some of the plays that you are looking at or that you would recommend for DFS tonight when lineup building?
Yeah, I immediately go to that UCLA Gonzaga game, and I like Tiger Campbell a lot, their point guard, because it's a pace boost for UCLA here, and he's been the guy, especially with Jalen Clark out for UCLA. He's been a guy that's really taken a step up, offensively for them. I mean, he's been one of their better players all year, but for DFS, he's really gotten a lot better. So that's like immediately I go for him. Jaime Jaquez for UCLA too, but he's very expensive. So if you can fit him in, obviously. But then on the other side, I got Drew Timme and Anton Watson from Gonzaga that I like at the top end of that one. But then, if you just look further down, like the pricing, I do really like some of the values from Gonzaga. Rasir Bolton and Malachi Smith. They're guys that kind of trade off games of, either one can get hot from 3, but they're very underpriced on this slate. So those are a couple values. I do have a playbook out right now on Fantasy Alarm, so go check that out. But the other value I like is Jaden Akins from Michigan State. The kind of the third guard. outside of Hoggard and Tyson Walker, but he's a guy that's really good for value wise and has been pretty good this tournament of just being a trustworthy cash value. So yeah, he's one of those mid-range, 5K guys I like.
Any other bets that you like, whether it's a total, player prop, money line?
Yeah, I put out a bunch of player props actually a couple hours ago. That I kind of targeted. I'll go with one of them I do like is going back to Tiger Campbell, 4.5 assists. I like that over for him. He's gone over that, like I mentioned. I think 4 out of the last 5 games since Clark's been out for UCLA. So the pace boost for him, and he's going to have to run this offense to help them keep pace with the Zags. So I like that one. The other one I'm looking at is the game prop for you is FAU Tennessee. I like the under in the first half. I just think it's going to be a really grinded out atmosphere there for both teams, just coming out with really a focus on defense, especially Tennessee not wanting FAU to start hitting threes. So I just see it being a real early on, both teams feeling each other out and just being a low scoring first half.
Hanging out with Dan Servodidio. Follow him on Twitter and get his picks that he puts out there and at fantasyalarm.com, pickswise.com, at Dan_Servodidio on Twitter. Servo switching to Friday now. You had mentioned Creighton to us a few times, and so far so good. But now they run into this 15th seeded, smart, witty Princeton Tigers team right here. Is this it for Creighton? I mean, because look, we got to take seeding out of it. We saw Fairleigh Dickinson advance, and when they beat Purdue, we've seen Princeton get this far as a 15 here. Is Creighton in trouble for this game?
I don't think so. I'm holding firm on Creighton. Their team I have picked to go to the Final Four. The trends, I'll just give you 2 quick stats here because I had to look this up to know what the history is here and do some more digging on Princeton, a team I really haven't covered much this year because I haven't had to. But
they don't even cover it at the school, man. Come on.
Right? Princeton 7-1 against the spread as an underdog this year. So that's a trend to kind of focus on. Including, obviously outright wins in these last 2 games in the tournament as underdogs. And 15 seeds, this is become a trend here. 15 seeds making the Sweet 16. 3-0 against the spread are these 15 seeds in the Sweet 16. So if that's something you want to back, nevertheless, I am backing Creighton here. I think that it's 9.5 or 10 right now. I do think it's going to be a double-digit win for Creighton. I just have a lot of trust in, across their board. I've come on with you guys a couple times and talked about Creighton. As you mentioned, I just really like 1 through 5, what they have. Any one of these guys can go off. If someone's having a bad night, the other guys can step up. And I just think in general, from a coaching standpoint, Greg McDermott, their head coach, I just feel like this team's going to be very prepared for Princeton and not going to be caught off guard like Arizona and Missouri were. And they just have honestly, less holes than, even though Arizona was a 2 seed, they have less holes than Arizona did. I don't think they're as vulnerable to getting upset like that. And as you mentioned, like even Purdue, I saw Purdue losing at some point because of their lack of production elsewhere outside of Zach Edey. So, obviously I didn't see Fairleigh Dickinson beating them, but Creighton overall, I just think they're not like a typical 6 seed. And this is something I have talked about with you guys. I talked about with Harry Bender when he brought me on, is just like, this is a 6 seed that's a top 20 team in the country, and they've proven it getting this far. And I think they could have a really good shot if they get past this Princeton team to beat Alabama if that matchup comes up.
Fensley is a typical 16 seed, barely wins, but that's another topic.
Wow.
Can Miami upset Houston?
I don't think so. Houston, now that it's evident that Sasser is healthy. He had a groin problem earlier. You guys, with Sasser being healthy, I think this team, between him and Jamal Shed, just like trading off being studs for them, is something I can't ignore. And they're going to match the really good guard play from Miami here. The spread is a little much for me to like back Houston. I do think they pull out the win. But I just think in general, this is going to be a really good game. I would look to the over in this one because I do think it's going to be a little bit more up and down. Miami's going to want to push it and try to force Houston to match them there. So I do think the guards on both ends going to keep the pace a little bit higher.
The other two matchups here with Texas taking on Xavier, a 2-3 matchup, Servo, and then Alabama, San Diego State. I'm wondering more about the Xavier-Texas matchup because I feel like Alabama is going to end up defeating San Diego State unless you think differently. Or do you think that may be a possible upset in either one of these matchups?
I wouldn't sleep on San Diego State, honestly. Xavier has a good shot to beat Texas outright for sure. And the Big East has proven, now that we have a few teams still going from the Big East here, that they are legit. The Big 12 all year has been the best conference, and Texas, won the Big 12 tournament recently in the same building, by the way, that they're going to be playing in Kansas City. So that's something to keep in mind, that they're very familiar there. But Xavier has, the offensive power to really stick with Texas here. But I do have my eye on San Diego State. I like them against the spread here, and I like the under in this game too, just because I think San Diego State's a team that they make teams play their style, grind it out. Both these teams are very good defensively, and I just think San Diego State's going to really force Alabama to be perfect on offense to really run up the score or cover this spread. I just think 7.5 points is a lot for me for San Diego State not to cover that. I honestly think they have a shot to win it all, or to win this game outright. The defense is just something that, like, if they can frustrate Alabama, and especially, people don't really talk about this, but Alabama is really led by two guys right now, Javon Quinterly and Brandon Miller. And San Diego State just kind of frustrates both of them and forces other guys to beat them, kind of like I was saying with Kansas State and Michigan State. It's really going to really show if other guys can step up and be the guy for them. So I just think it's going to be a lower scoring game. San Diego State is going to come ready to play and really slow this pace down, I think.
For real quick, I wanted to make you feel better about your FAU pick. So DraftKings has a parlay boost, 25% parlay boost for Michigan State and Tennessee to both win. So we know that's not happening. So
I saw that earlier, and I was like, all right, so one of these teams losing. So,
right. So it's
probably, I feel good about Michigan State. So, yeah, I guess that even pushes me more towards Florida Atlantic there.
Rodas, you going to bet it?
No, hell no.
Just take the FAU money line, and it's kind of like a boost right there.
Yeah. Let's do it, Servo. Let's do it, man. You're bold. You put your picks out there. You're real, too. You don't hide from anybody when your picks fail, and it just shows that you're a big-time veteran of the fantasy sports industry as you've been in this space. If I had to say you've been in this space probably 8 years at this point, at least. I remember when you first started out. You do a great job with us here at fantasyalarm.com. We'll check back in with you next week here as we get ready for the Final Four and beyond, man. Thank you so much for stopping by again.
Yeah, appreciate bringing me on again. It's going to be fun to see which teams we end up with.
Yeah, and Servo, I wasn't giving you the finger before, by the way. I was giving it to that guy, to Ronas. So
yeah, same with me.
Yeah, just in case, just to set the record straight.
I'm like Michael Jordan. I take things personally, so I'm going to hold that against you.
Oh my God! And this will be Servo's last time here on the show.
But unlike LeBron James, you should fear me.
Wow! Look at that! Look at that! Fear the Servo here, except for his picks. Definitely roll with them. Their FAU money line, like that very much. Servo, thank you so much for stopping by. Dan_Servo Didio on Twitter. Let's hit the track quickly and talk with Matt Sells about a little NASCAR action coming up. Maybe Sells can give us more of those winners that he gives on fantasyalarm.com as the playbook continues here on Bettor Sports Network.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network. Bettor Sports Network. Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
We're talking catchers. And Ray, as we jump into this position, traditionally, this has been a position that you kind of say, well, there's like 2-3 guys and the rest is just junk. And gosh, I'm in a 2-catcher league. How in the hell am I going to fill 2 spots, in this 12-man league? And oh, it's such a struggle after the 8th catcher. Like, fair to say it's different now? I mean, I know it's not great, but it feels like the best catcher pool I've seen in a while, like at least a half decade, in terms of, wow, we've got some hitters, we've got guys, and I know they're not exclusively catchers, and the DH is helping, certainly, but it looks like we're going, 10, 12 deep at least of feeling good about catchers, I think.
I tier the players at positions because I think that's a really good way to look at them. And when you tier players, you're basically putting guys that are likely to produce similar levels of production in the same tier. One guy might be batting average, one guy might be home runs, that kind of a thing, but basically the same end result value-wise. I have 2 guys on the elite tier. I then have 9 guys or 8 guys on the next tier. And then I go all the way to 22 on the 3rd tier, which basically almost gets us to that, 2 catchers in the 24, 12-team league kind of thing. So I agree with you. And I think that even if you look beyond that, there's some names that are outside my top 20 that I could easily see being top 15 catchers this year. So yeah, it's not wow. But it's good overall. We got some young guys coming in that are dynamic players to help out some of the older guys that are still hanging on. It's better than it has been. I agree with you.
It's actually very young, Ray. And that, I mean, you look at Varsho, Rauschman, William Contreras, Kirk, Melendez, Cal Riley's semi-young, but Keibert Ruiz. And there's still other guys coming up that are in the minors right now. It's, we used to always say all these young catchers, just catch, don't worry about hitting. These are guys are coming up with some skill sets as well.
Yeah, and the game is different now, right? Back in the day, you were an old dude that had no athleticism. You're good at blocking balls, and we hoped you'd pop 15 home runs, right? That was kind of the MO. Now it's different. Now we get more athletic guys. It's not that, you have to be some dumpy, slow guy catching. You can be an athletic player that can play other positions, as you noted. So I think the youngsters are bringing more athleticism, kind of like the tight end position in football, right? It's like there is more athleticism at the tight end spot than there was 25 years ago. I think it's the same way at the catcher spot.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
I'm dropping the hammer.
The Playbook is making a pit stop in the world of NASCAR and looking ahead to this week's race with Fantasy Alarm's Matt Sells.
I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence. I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine.
Now back to Bettor Sports Network's own version of
Shake it back!
Justin Fensterman and Adam Ronis.
NASCAR time here on Bettor Sports Network. The Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, taking place. And the guy that's going to help us break it down, backed by popular demand, is one Matt Sells from fantasyalarm.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at the Sellsman. Does great job along with Dan Malin with all of your NASCAR coverage. Sells, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Been a pretty busy day with baseball so far, but NASCAR is always on the docket too.
So why don't you tell us about the track here? This is Ronis's favorite part of the interview. So give us some details, man.
Yeah, this sets the foundation.
It really does.
Well, in this case, the foundation's a pretty good one. It's COTA. It's my favorite road course on the schedule. America's down in Austin, Texas. It is a Formula One purpose-built track, right? So the guys who built this favorite corners from the F1 schedule and built a track to host F1 races, and NASCAR rents it out, goes and takes the Cup and Xfinity cars all around COTA. So it is a very challenging track. It has a favorite entrance into turn 1 all season. They climb a massive hill and then go into a hairpin turn 1, which is always fun to see who can make it out of that without crashing. It's one of the longer road courses as well. Challenging circuit, and then you add in the fact that it's rained here the last 2 years. Even though it's Texas, it does manage to rain. So hopefully there's no rain this year, and we get a clean, fun racing experience around COTA.
Looking at my model for this week, Austin Cindric is a guy that stands out. How do you feel about him?
I mean, he should stand out, right? He grew up doing open wheel racing in Europe before he joined the ranks of NASCAR. By the way, his father is the guy who is pretty high up at Team Penske. So, it's not a shock that he's got himself a primo ride, and he's heading into a road course that is right in his wheel. Not in his wheel, not quite as much as say Indy road courses, but look, he should be pretty well here. He was running pretty well here last year as well in his first year in a cup car at this track. So I would be very shocked if he was not running in the top 5 most of the day, if not having a shot to win it. Seen the guys who are very good at road courses are the ones that rise to the top. It's not a track where you can get a fluke road course win. Where the best road course racers are the ones that tend to win here. So Chase Britton, Cindric is a guy that we're definitely looking at this weekend.
What about Joey Logano, who's coming off of a dominant win? We're talking about a win in which he led for 140 laps here, and he's had a couple of other races where he led for at least 12 laps recently. But I got to ask you, man, what is it with him that makes it an $8,700 price point worth it for Joey Logano? Or is he someone that you feel, even with this price point, because of recency bias with him winning last week's race, a lot of people are going to be owning him, so maybe you go a different direction?
So I'm not entirely off of Logano this week. It's hard for me to get fully on board, though, because if we look at courses, okay, so they've raced COTA twice, and every road course is different, so you can't really say, okay, well, good here, but every road course is different, so we can take this for what it is. But his average starting position over the last is 8.5, which is really quite nice. So he does a very good job of qualifying at these races. Okay. However, if we look at the finishes, his average finish is 18.0. So that means he's only got 3 top 10s in those 10 races. The rest of them are not so great. So he spends a lot of his time going backwards at road courses, which is not all that great for DF. Seeing him in the mid-tier is a little bit of a nod to, yeah, he's been fast so far, and maybe he can get a top 10 here, but most likely. I think it's a fair price. I think people are going to be willing to take a shot on him. I'm not 100% convinced yet. No, is a guy that I want to go that heavy on this weekend.
How about Kyle Larson? What are your thoughts on him for this week?
Larson had some interesting comments. I think this is where his crew chief not being there might come into play. We do have some interesting strategy this week because this year they've gotten rid of actual stage breaks for road races. So you get points like it's a stage break, but they don't throw the caution. So there's no stop in the race. It keeps going, which has been a bugaboo.
Very quickly, for those that might not know, I'm sorry to interrupt. What is a stage break for me and some of the others that might not understand?
So a few years ago, several years ago now, NASCAR introduced stage racing, right? Because the argument was, well, this guy led 100 and something laps in a race, and he was dominant through the middle part of the race, and then he had a bad last third of the race, and he's not going to get any credit or any points for leading a bunch of laps, being up front for a good chunk of the race. So NASCAR introduced stage breaks, which is basically they divide the race into 3 parts. The first 2 are, my cat says hi, by the way. The first 2 are a third one. And the point is that, if you lead the first stage, you get points. If you lead the second stage, you get points. And then if you fall back, at least you have some points to show that you were doing well at the beginning of the race. Well, they put them in road courses too. It hasn't really worked out that well. It's basically killed a lot of the momentum and strategy in the road courses. The lap total is not that long, right? So if you can make it through the first stage without pitting, strategy out of a lot of the remainder of the race. So but this is where this helps. The fact that they took the actual cautions out of this race, right? They don't actually stop now for the stage breaks. They just keep. So if he's in first place at, say, lap 20, which I think is the first stage, he gets the points for being in first. But they don't stop the race. He just gets to keep going. So, like at Sonoma last year, the last 2 years actually, he employed the same strategy, which was he led the first, then he took the pit stop to fill up, but then he couldn't pass and couldn't get back up through the win, even though he had the best car. So I think not having the stage breaks helps Kyle Larson a little bit. He's really, really good at road racing. If it's Chase Elliott, who's the best one right now, who's not racing because he's broken leg, Kyle Larson's probably 1B on that list in road racing.
Hanging out with Matt Sells from fantasyalarm.com and pickswise.com as well. Give him a follow on Twitter at the Sellsman. Go to fantasyalarm.com and check out all of his and Dan Malin, who we had on this very program about a week or two ago. Make sure you check out their work. They do a great job. They have everything from track breakdowns to playbooks to everything that you can need to get ready for these races. They're better than these guys' pit crews, I'll tell you that much. Who are some of the drivers that you're going to be spending up for overall in DFS? I know that we've hit on a few of the top guys, obviously, like Larson, but who are some of the other high-priced drivers that you're going to be investing in?
It's quite interesting. Obviously, AJ Allmendinger is a big name when it comes to road racing. That's where he's gotten a lot of his wins. Open wheel racing, part of the sport with IndyCar and whatnot. So he's a guy that we always look to win here last year until he got basically run over and run off the course in the final. Corner, which is Ross Chastain, who was also fast here last year. So those are a couple of guys. Tyler Reddick won a couple of road courses last year and finally showed signs of life last week in the new Toyota. So that's a good sign. But I do think we can get a little bit of, because if we're going to look at what happened to him last year, he was not good at road courses last year. But here's the thing. The Toyotas were terrible. So Denny Hamlin, who's usually a pretty good road course racer, stunk up the joint. Christopher Bell, racer, stunk up the joint. Martin Truex Jr. is a very good road racer, stunk up the joint. So I think it was more the car than Kyle Busch, and that Kyle Busch is in Tyler Reddick's car from last year. So I think we're going to get a little bit of leverage because people are going to look at what happened and forget that he's still Kyle Busch and he's still very good. So there's a few guys I'm looking out for. There is one guy that I'm absolutely not playing under any circumstances, though. That would be Bubba Wallace. If Bubba Wallace finds an elixir and winds up on the pole, I am not playing him. Not happening. Anytime right turns are involved, Bubba Wallace, he just cannot figure out how to turn the wheel to the right. So yeah, he's not very high. Shouldn't be, but even if he's a budget play, we're not looking at him this week.
What are some of your top bets for the week?
So looking over here on DraftKings Sportsbook, right now Tyler Reddick's going off at 9-1. That's pretty intriguing to me, as is Kyle Busch. I think those are slightly better. I like those slightly better than Kyle Larson, who is the favorite right now, going off at looks like plus 650. So those are a few. AJ Allmendinger at 12-1 is pretty enticing as well. There, Austin Cindric has the best odds of the guys we've talked about at 15-1. So if we want a little bit of a guy who should be a favorite, Austin Cindric at 15-1 is pretty intriguing.
Now the Ronus model.
Yeah, it's looking good this week.
Yeah, it's looking good. It's about time it hits.
It hits. Trust me, I hit.
Yes,
Ty
we
Gibbs,
know you did.
Ty Gibbs at 50-1 is pretty intriguing because Ty Gibbs has won some road courses. He's been pretty good, and if Toyota can figure out the speed in their cars, that's a long shot that might pay off.
I didn't hear any Dylon this week, no?
Not so good at road racing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he's another guy.
With Malin, by the way, you did that with Malin, and Malin was just like, Sells prepared me for that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah,
when he said that.
He's like, and unfortunately, when right turns are involved, Austin Dillon tends to struggle.
Sounds like the guy who drove us to Waffle House in Canton, the boss fantasy Bosco right there. Tell you that much. Talking about Sells here about the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix here taking place in Austin, Texas. Go to fantasyalarm.com.
Wait, I have a quick question for Sells. You know, he knows about speed, right? I mean, he knows about speed, right?
Yes.
Right, Justin?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so
we're talking about speed on the track, speed the drug. What kind of speed?
On the track. So, Matt, if you had to put odds, Fensty and I in a race, what are the odds?
Like, are we running or
running?
Yeah, we're not driving. We're running.
I'll give it to Ronus.
Oh, wow.
He's trying to be kind. He's like, well, I do work with Fensty on a podcast. I don't want to insult him. So
no, we already recorded the episode.
I'm saying the next week.
I did run cross country and track in high school, and I know the body type that tends to do better in a run.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Ronus.
So you think Fensty needs to, maybe get a
You're looking good. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't push your luck on a track. It might not go your way.
We'll see about this. I've got a few more months to prepare myself for this.
You gotta give credit to Sells, man. He kind of put you down in a gentle way, right?
No, I kind of appreciate that too, because normally people just hit me over the head with a 2x4, and pretty much that's how it goes every day. So I actually kind of appreciate.
You can turn right and left, apparently.
Yes, that's very true, actually. Sells, unlike Bubba Wallace, who cannot turn right, or Rich Miletto also can't turn right.
Hey, at least we made it out alive.
Race car drivers. He can only turn one direction.
Wait, Fensty, were you in that car?
Not when he drove on the wrong side of the road.
Okay. I told you about it, right?
Well, yeah, we were talking about it. Coincidentally, we were actually talking about it when he was driving us to Waffle House, and I'm like, oh, great. A guy's driving me right now at midnight, and he drove on the wrong side of the road last night. So good luck.
At least we made it out alive.
Yes, we're here. That's all we can say. Sells, who's winning this race?
Oh man, I
ask you the same question.
I know
he wasn't ready for this
every week. The problem is there's like 5 dudes. There's like 5 guys I legitimately think can win. I'm gonna go with
Ding 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 ding.
That car was really fast last year. Allmendinger is still. That race ended. In fairness, he got run off the road basically. And I just think those college cars are good. I mean, heck, they made Justin Haley look good, and that guy's not even a professional road course racer. So I'm gonna go with AJ Allmendinger to nab a win this week and lock himself into the playoffs.
AJ Allmendinger, Matt Sells' choice to win the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix taking place in Austin, Texas. Sells, thank you so much for stopping by.
Sure thing. Always a fun time with you guys.
Yes, sir. Matt Sells. Give him a follow on Twitter at the Sellsman. He's Adam Ronis. I am Justin Fensterman. We're going to switch things up a little bit to keep consistency, previewing the Minnesota Twins very quickly before we talk a little NBA with all of you on the Playbook on BSN.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Monday Night Rants, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he not? I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah, okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover. and then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover.
Okay.
06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander.
Okay.
08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
No way you know.
and Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14,
No way you know all these.
14, also a trick question.
Uh-huh.
I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders, unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
Oh my God.
was on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at.
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay. Keep on going.
15, we have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16, hold on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17, I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
My goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. Yeah, dude, I'm a cover nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that was really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had two people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
We know that we're going to play a good team in Kansas State. It's been an incredible journey, especially this last month and a half, and yet we're playing some of our better basketball. We kind of alternated between our offense and our defense, and sooner or later I'd like to put the two together. If we could ever have both working at the same time, I think we would be even a better team. And yet last weekend our defense kind of carried us, which a lot of times is needed in the NCAA tournament.
Call, chat, and enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network.
Michigan State Spartans coach Tom Izzo talking about the upcoming matchup that we have tonight against Kansas State here, and it's the NCAA tournament on Bettorcast tonight. So starting at 6:30 Eastern, right after we're out of here, watch the Sweet 16 and compete in our real-time Q&A contest on the Bettor Sports Network app. Watch, play, and win prizes by answering predictive questions about the games while having fun chatting in our community in real time. Join us for Bettorcast in the Bettor Sports Network app tonight, starting at 6:30 Eastern. You can win a $100 gift card to the BettorSports.com collectible shop to purchase authentic hand-signed items from your favorite athletes. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Show and Dynasty Nerds will air on BettorSports.com and on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at Bettor Network Programming. Note, as we just pointed out, our show ending at around 6:28 p.m. Eastern Time, to be exact, today and tomorrow, so you can have a chance to win as part of the Bettorcast. Go get you some right there when it comes to that $100 gift card. A lot of questions coming at you fast. Have the game on, have the app open, all you got to do. Let's flip it over to baseball for a few minutes, Ronan, and then we're going to go over some props for the four-gamer that we have for NBA tonight here. The Minnesota Twins, we're down to the final three teams here. We have the Twins today. We've got the Rays on Friday, and then we've got the Dodgers on Monday, and then we are done here. So, Roan, let's talk about this Twins team. And the big question is, do you have any Byron Buxton on any of your squads this year?
No, I do not. I have in the past, but, I mean, it's just we always see this guy have an inability to stay on the field, and then they said they're going to have to manage his knee again, and he's going to TH quite a bit. So it's concerning. He's cheaper than years past, but, you still have to get him in the, 7th, 8th round. And I'm not willing to do that at this point. We saw 28 homers last year in 92 games, but a .224 batting average. His strikeout rate was 30.4%. And there's no doubt, like, if we get 150 games, I mean, we could see phenomenal stats, but we've seen more than 100 games one time in his career, and he came in 2017. We all know there's just certain guys that don't stay healthy, and it's been a multitude of injuries that have affected him. So it'd be nice to see him stay healthy. Even the stolen bases are not what they were. He hasn't had double-digit stolen bases since 2019. He had 6 last year, wasn't caught, but he only has 17 stolen bases over the last 3 years. So, and again, the batting average is a little bit of a concern as well. I know he had 306 2 years ago, but that was only 254 plate appearances, and he had a 344 batting average of balls in play that year. So there's so much talent here, but he has not been able to stay on the field, so I'm not going to draft him.
Are we going to get to see Jorge Polanco at all anytime soon? What's the deal with that at this point here? Because they're going to have to, switch up some other players there. Like, where does Kyle Farmer fit in relation to Polanco's injury?
I mean, I don't see him playing much. I think it'll be Nick Gordon getting more at bats. He might play some second base. They have some injuries that they're going to have to deal with here early on. Polanco's not going to be ready for the start. Definitely concerning. I really liked him a lot going into the year, but kind of have to back off. I think in today's draft, he went like round 17. Kind of thought about it because we do have the IL spots, but didn't do it. I think he can be really good if he's healthy. But they have some issues to start. It looks like Trevor Larnach might get some opportunity to play here early in the season. Alex Kirilloff's a little banged up as well. He might not be ready to go. Miranda should be good to go, but he's had a shoulder issue, so he might not be able to throw much. So, yeah, they already are dealing with some injuries here.
So who are you interested in drafting on this team at this point?
I do have some Miranda. I did take Correa in one league as a middle infielder because he really fell, but he's never been a great fantasy player. He's better in real life. I know his counting stats were not good last year because of the team. He hit 291, which is good. It's hard to find average in today's game. And he had 22 homers, 654 RBIs, but he's never hit 30 home runs in a season. He's topped 25 home runs one time. He's never driven in 100 and playing on some good Houston teams. So I really don't love him. But again, if he falls and you get him as a middle infielder instead of a starting shortstop, I'm good with that. And I like Nick Gordon a lot. I think he's got second in outfield eligibility. And we saw last year when he got the opportunity to play a little pop, a little speed. He had 9 homers and 6 stolen bases. Needs to get better with the plate discipline, but I think he could take a step up. So, you get him late in drafts, and it looks like at least early on in the season, the playing opportunity is going to be there. But, yeah, I mean, Max Kepler, I'm not really interested. I want to see what he does. I'm fine with Christian Vasquez as number 2 catcher because I think he gives you solid batting average.
Moving over to the pitcher side of things, it doesn't seem like we know at the moment what is going to be done with the bullpen. Who's going to be getting the most saves there? I mean, do you think it ends up being, I know he's a little bit banged up, but do you think it ends up being Yohan Duran, or you think it ends up being maybe Lopez? At this point, we don't seem to have an answer with the season starting soon.
Yeah, most people are drafting as if Duran's the guy. It might be a split. They might use Duran in high leverage situations. I know Jorge Lopez wasn't as good after coming over from Baltimore. He was really good. So I think this is a situation to watch. Duran's got great stuff, but again, they might use him in the 7th and 8th inning at times. So I think for now, you might see these guys split the saves.
What about Pablo Lopez, new arrival there from Miami here? He won about 10 games, almost 175 strikeouts, just 174. And Joe Ryan, I mean, we're seeing some of these guys here for the pitchers go in draft boards in the NFBC over the last week here. We're seeing them go in the late 130s to 160s range here. Do you like Ryan or Lopez at all?
Yeah, I like both. I mean, Lopez, we've seen his velocity up here in the spring, pitching the WBC. Always has had a good arm. It's just shoulder issues have kind of nagged him at times. But, that velocity being up certainly is intriguing. And Joe Ryan was really solid last year, working on an improved slider here. So definitely interested in him. We saw last year, ERA in the mid threes. Strikeout rate was 25%, a whip of 1.10. So I think he's definitely intriguing. Doesn't throw hard, but mixes his pitch as well. So that slider is key for him, and he's looked good in the spring. So yeah, I'm interested in both of them.
Finally, man, I mean, any other pitchers here that we should be interested in? Or forget that. Can this team win the division? I was looking at their odds a little bit earlier, and when it comes to the odds, they rank second in the odds right now to win the AL Central on DraftKings Sportsbook. You believe in this team overall?
Yeah, this division is kind of wide open, so I do think they can win the division. I think they have a solid staff. They don't have an ace, but they have solid arms. I mean, especially if Kenta Maeda can come back coming off the injury. But yeah, I mean, the White Sox have talent, but they already are dealing with some injuries. Cleveland's a team that just finds a way to get it done. I mean, I think it's clearly between those three teams. Cleveland tends to not spend a lot of money. They don't make big moves, and yet there they are. They're always pretty competitive. So I think all three of those teams have a chance to win the division.
Final question here. Correa, no interest in him?
Carlos Correa?
Yeah.
I was just talking about him.
Oh, my bad, dude. I thought you didn't say his name. I literally had it earmarked. I thought you didn't say his name.
I was praising you yesterday for listening and your skills, and then the very next day, you pulled a Scott Engel.
Dude, this was one of those times I did not think I heard Correa there when you mentioned it before. You mentioned a few of the other bats. I really didn't think you mentioned Correa, and that is my bad if you did.
I did. I was talking about how he's never hit 30 home runs. He's never had a 100 RBI season. That was Carlos Correa.
My bad, dude. My bad on that. That was stupid points for Fensty right there. We're getting you ready.
Because of that, they're going to take away minutes from the show today.
Yeah, well, you know what, dude? I'm sure you don't mind that. We're getting you ready for the 2023.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing. Of course not. I mean, come on. You get an extra half an hour to hang out.
Well, it gives me time to get some dinner.
Exactly. So you're not upset about that.
No, I'm not.
We're getting you ready for the 2023 Major League Baseball season with the Bettor Fantasy Baseball Draft. Follow pick-by-pick coverage and learn winning strategies from Kyle Elfrink and Johnny VTV as the BSN hosts and producers compete against the sharpest baseball analysts. The Bettor Fantasy Baseball Draft, part of our free baseball preview. Watch it now at bettorsports.com. Ending a bit early today, but not before. We go over some NBA wagers for tonight. Already gave one for the Playbook first play. I got another one from the same game. What direction am I going in Knicks Magic? Find out here on BSN.
Call, chat, and enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
People are always very critical when it comes to fantasy baseball. I would say this, and I'm a big fantasy basketball guy. I love fantasy football. There's no fantasy sport that's even close to being as hard as baseball. The season, having to figure out, especially if you're playing weekly, which I don't like to play. Weekly with the two starts, having to look at the schedule and everything. I mean, you play in basketball as well. There's no fantasy sport that's harder or more involved than baseball. It takes forever. You take a whole night to do your fab on Sundays.
Yeah, baseball is the most challenging, and I think that's why the popularity has gone down. People don't want to work. They don't want to put in the time. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You have to know the player pool. That's why I love doing these 15-team, 50-round drafts. I mean, 750, 800 players. You go to all the minor leaguers. I took Spencer Strider last year in my first draft Champions League in round 40, and that turned out to be a phenomenal pick. So it puts you on to knowing everything about every team. And yeah, it's a lot of work. So I definitely think that it's a challenge, and I just feel like people don't want to put in time and work anymore. I'm not saying fantasy football is easy. It's not. But you cannot tell me that fantasy football is more difficult than fantasy baseball. I play both sports. I don't have an allegiance to either one. I love both. I play both. But, fantasy baseball is a grind, man. You got to put in months of preparation. Spring training is important. It helped me get Carlos Rodon a couple years ago. I was not on him until the spring, seeing the velocity and the changes. So there's a lot of things you can discover in the spring. And this is the first real full spring training that we've had in years. Now, there is the WBC that is going to cut into it a little bit, and some guys will not be at camp. But The spring can help you discover. And again, you're talking about, even if you're in a 12-team league, I mean, you're probably going to have 23 to 30 roster spots. And then the 15-team leagues and the mono leagues, I mean, you got to know a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to win a fantasy baseball title. We've seen it, right? You can have like an average player win a fantasy football league. Like, we've all been in leagues where like, yeah, this guy's not that good. He's probably going to win a championship at some point. Things break right. He has a great draft, picks up a player off the waiver wire. That's not happening in fantasy baseball, man. You do not see bad players win fantasy baseball championships. You just don't. It's a 6-month season. You know, you can't afford to take a week or two off from Fab. You can't do it. Last year, say you took off the week where Taylor Ward was the big pickup. You lost a player that was a contributor most of the season. I know we had a couple of down periods, and Taylor Ward was a player I added in multiple leagues, but you can't take that time off. You can't afford to miss out. And, you know, every little detail is important. So I know fantasy baseball is not as popular as it used to be, but I personally feel it's because people don't want to work hard. They just don't. Everyone wants the easy way out now. They want easy access. That's why people don't read anymore. They want a quick video. Fantasy baseball is a lot of work, trust me. But you know what? When you win a championship, it's really gratifying.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
Even dating back to last year, you know, there was a sense inside the group of guys that, you know, we could compete with anybody. We felt a little bit more like a little brother last year. We were kind of like swinging away, and, you know, there was a lot of nights where we didn't have enough punch, but the team's got great belief, you know, and great confidence for a young team, and pretty unwavering. That was a really tough environment tonight. The Clippers got more and more physical as the game went on, and we're expecting them to be, you know, really physical on Thursday.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com on Bettor Sports Network.
Coach D from OKC talking about their previous matchup against the Clippers. This is a repeat matchup tonight for the 4-gamer we have in the NBA. The Thunder taking on the Clippers for the second time in 3 days, 231.5 total there. No Paul George, going to miss the next couple of weeks. Might be the rest of the regular season. We'll have to see. They're running out of time. Norman Powell still out for at least another couple of games. Other games also, the Knicks 1.5-point favorites now, as we just got the news that Jalen Brunson, who was questionable going in, is going to miss tonight's game. For now, Knicks props have been pulled, at least from what I've seen on DraftKings.
They're up.
They are up now. Okay.
Yeah, well, on BetMGM they are, because I was, you know, and this is one thing. Sometimes you have to read the tea leaves. And once Brunson was downgraded to questionable, man, I was looking at it quickly, was 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Should have pounced on that, man.
I pounced on Barrett once I saw that he was questionable.
What did you get?
20.5, over 20.5 points.
What points? Quickly's at 19.5 right now on BetMGM, and his PRAs are 28.5. But man, you could have gotten it at 18.5 PRAs earlier for Quickly, man. You know?
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, and it's a risk.
I mean,
I know that, but you know what though? Sometimes you have to take the risk. And look, Brunson could have played, and it, you know, but still 18.5. He could have still gotten that potentially with Brunson.
Right.
But now it's a steal. Like, he might get there on points alone.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson was questionable most of the day, and he is actually going to play. Mm-hmm. So because he was questionable throughout the day, and I did the value video up at FantasyAlarm.com.
Yeah, they removed something.
Oh, okay.
But no, on BetMGM, they have Randall, Barrett, Quickly, and Robinson are up.
Let me just sell everybody on RJ Barrett. Let me sell everybody on RJ Barrett for a second for both DFS and for betting. RJ Barrett, we've been going after his shooting. He has been hot these last few games. Should now easily take double-digit shots. I put him in that value video because his price point had gone down to $6K, 6,400. So I put him in the value video. But for props as well, I saw that 20.5 point prop. There aren't many other teams that play worse mid-court defense, meaning defense on the wing here, than the Orlando Magic. And I think Barrett going over 20.5 points was one that absolutely stood out to me a little bit earlier. If we made 2 first plays instead of 1, that would have been play number 2 right there. I like the Cole Anthony one a little bit better. And now that Brunson isn't playing, I like it even more for the points rebounds here, because the Knicks now are going to have Emmanuel Quickly play more minutes. By the time Cole Anthony goes in, he has fresh legs. quickly will be tired, a little bit more on the fatigue side. And I like that going in, especially for Cole Anthony tonight, who will come off the bench with no Suggs. But RJ Barrett, over 20.5 points. That's someone that you can look to rely on easily for DFS, but even for props too. And I wouldn't be championing him if he wasn't shooting as well as he has, or has the potential to take 15 shots tonight.
Well, it's 21.5 now.
Okay, that's fine. I'm still fine with that. Goes up 1 point. I'm fine with that tonight.
Yeah, and he tends to do really well without Brunson.
Right. I liked it with Brunson. I'm going to love it without Brunson. So that's what I've got so far. The 2 bets in Rome that I have are that Cole Anthony over the points and rebounds, and I also have Barrett over 20.5 points. What else are you looking at for tonight?
Well, I did a wild parlay. We'll find out about that later. I think it's plus 2,000. So it's only 4 legs. But I think got to look at Jalen Williams tonight. Right?
Not J-A-Y, J-L-J-A-L.
Right? Yeah. I mean, 15.5 points. He's been going over that. His rebounds or points rebounds. I mean, he's playing great. No Paul George for the Clippers. I mean, OKC just beat them the other night.
What prop is safest to you for Jalen Williams? Because I happen to agree that there's an opportunity here with no PG-13.
Yeah, I mean, again, he was already there the other night. I guess you can look at I'm
taking the points there.
I think points and rebounds, man. He's got at least 7 rebounds in 5 straight games. He just had 20 points and 8 rebounds against them, playing 37 minutes. I mean, points, 15.5, he's gone over in 4 of the last 6. But kind of like the points rebounds. I think Jared Allen's rebounds tonight is a good play, 10.5. He had 14 against the Nets the other night and always performs well against them on the rebounding side. Claxton a little undersized. Nets have given up, I think, the most rebounds to centers over the last 7 games. So it's at 10.5 for Jared Allen. I think that's a solid play.
I think you're right about that, too. I think that's a nice number that you got right there. Nice 4-game slate. It's Claxton. I don't know if it's Claxton, but hasn't been the same defensively all of a sudden. And I don't know.
I haven't played his prop. I mean, I did in a parlay. I think I pared it down. Franz Wagner, man. He's played really well.
Yeah. I mean, look, especially with tonight here, I mean, you're looking at a points prop of 18.5.
Yeah, he's gone at least 20 in 3 straight.
What do you think?
I'm probably not going to play it, but I was just kind of eyeing it. I mean, I'm not going to play a ton tonight. It's only a 4-game slate. There's not a lot that I love here.
How confident are you in that Oubre play?
He's been crushing it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, even Terry Rozier's not bad. His points assist prop too.
Right.
I think it's 27.5. He's been going over that consistently. I mean,
what do you like better, the Oubre prop or something on Rozier?
Probably Oubre.
Yeah. It's pretty safe, man.
Is Rozier 25.5 on FanDuel? Is that what I'm seeing?
I mean, I'm seeing. Yeah, I'm not seeing where he's at. I don't even see him. So interesting right there. We got Bettor Cast coming up right after us. Make sure you stay tuned here. More programming happening on bettorsports.com. For our producers, the resource AB, Adam Bernard. For Mike Torres, thanking him hanging out with us once again, one of our old producers. Good luck to everybody out there. Let's win Thursday. The Playbook, we out.